Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. We're here with Iker Jusue and James Whitelock. Jesus.
It's okay.
Oh,
There's some echo, I think.
We're getting some feedback.
I'm wondering where that's coming from.
Yeah, I get a lot of feedback here.
Yeah. Iker, just to make sure you don't have Crowdcast open on more than one window.
I'm on mute.
Ah, okay.
I can't see it.
Oh, James, could it be that Facebook thing you were talking about? Maybe that's causing it.
Okay, let me close everything down.
Ooh. Oh, you're muted at the moment, James, but
I'm back. Here we go.
I think it's fine for me now.
Yeah, it's okay.
We're there. Yes.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Crowdcast strikes again. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ian, I hope it's all okay for you.
A little hiccup, but we got there. A little hiccup, but we got there. Cool. Yeah. Good stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
So, Iker, what we'll do is before we start talking, we'll just find out, maybe as it's lunchtime, see what people have on their plate today, or bowls, or maybe a glass. I don't know.
Yeah, it was with a glass of something very healthy, and as I am Spanish, as you know, typical from my country. It's called Gazpacho.
Very nice.
A very tasty tomato soup that you drink cold, and very good for this time of the year. Always like it, but good.
Do you have it? Do you have it with like kind of the stuff sprinkled on top, right? Isn't that kind of like this kind of peppers and stuff? And all
yes, not this time, but you can have it like that, and you can put like even boiled eggs, and
I mean,
some people put it bread, and yes.
You're not even doing it properly. Come on, no. Where in Spain are you today?
So right now I am in Menorca because my family is from here. My dad was born in Menorca, and always when I can, I try to come here to visit the family and have a bit of a change from Carlisle and the weather. And it's a huge difference from Cambria, which I really love. I love Cambria, but I have to say the weather is not the same.
Stephen O'Donnell on the chat is kind of saying that cold soup just isn't right. No.
Go on, Stephen. You will try it with me. You will see it's different when you try it.
And also, when you're in Spain and it's so warm, then you probably want a cold soup. And
yes, I think it's 30 degrees now, so I think it's almost not cold. While you're drinking it, it's like almost evaporating. So 32 degrees real feel. So
all right. Thanks for that. Rub it in. Shafiq, what did you have for lunch? I know you're. I'm going to guess it was some kind of curry.
No, no. As I had a big barbecue on the weekend, I've got lots of stuff left over, so I'm catching up. I had a burger with fried eggs this morning, or just an hour ago, before the talk. So, to vary it up, just so that I don't become known as the man that only eats curry.
Well, so there's nothing wrong with that. I myself had my usual, which is the salad. I'm going to guess. Again, I'll use my mental powers to guess what the rest of the team had. So is Debbie here? Where's Debbie? Apples for Debbie, definitely. Always.
Granola.
Stephen, a glass of water and a biscuit. And Louise surely just had a salad like me. I mean, that's I think that's GPS. I don't even know what a GPS eats. And I mean, just kind of rocket fuel or something, probably. You know what I mean? It's just kind of if he's here. Tea and a Jaffa cakes. There you go for Stephen. He is
And I think GPS is in Spain at the moment, so he's probably having sangria by now.
He's had his fill of Gazpacho for the day. There you go.
Good.
Very good. So yeah, so today's topic with Iker is supercharging sourcing during slowdown times. So we'll talk about that as we start. But maybe you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Iker, and how you got into maybe becoming this grandmaster in sourcing and what that actually means.
Yes, totally. So I started in recruitment like initially HR 8 years ago, and since then working in-house at first, sourcing for people without having any idea of what I was doing, like just trying to chase like some candidates in the middle of nowhere in France for construction workers and crane pumps operators, which was like very, very fun. And then I moved to the UK, I moved to Edinburgh. I worked with Hudson RPO in the first sourcing center of excellence, and that was in 2015. And I started like loving actually everything that was related to this proactivity, in finding people and like having like a strategy, combining tools, sharing that knowledge, because that's what a COE is doing. And from there, I moved to agency. I work with Solutions Driven. That is an amazing agency also with a global outreach in Glasgow. And that was like the end of my time in Scotland. After that, I moved to Carlisle and I started working by myself, like contracting mainly for advisory and delivery sourcing projects with clients as Big, McKinsey, more recently ThoughtWorks, Oracle, and doing some trainings also for agencies and some startups. And this SourceCon thing came like as a challenge. As I was learning more and more about sourcing, I came, of course, with one of the main references for knowledge, which is the SourceCon blog, that sourcecon.com. And I saw that they had something that is called the Grandmaster Challenge. And having played a lot in the past also with the sourcing games from Yantex and even competing with some of my coworkers and friends, I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to test my knowledge and to have some fun. I'm quite a bit of a fan of competition, so the first time I failed, I ended in the first 3 in 2018. Cindy Davis won, and my ex-boss in ThoughtWorks, Natalie Glick, was in the 2nd place, which was also quite fun. Because as I was starting the contract with her, she was interviewing me for that contract. She was saying, "Oh, we are in top 10 finally, so we have to compete against each other." So it was like very, very challenging. And then I tried again in 2019, and this time I had a better strategy and I won. So it means that you're competing against like maybe like 300, 200 maybe persons, depending on the year, across the globe. Some of the best sourcers, because you have like a first stage where from everybody that is participating, only like 10 persons are going to the next round, and then the next round takes like hours in some cases.
How does it actually work, Iker? How does the actual kind of, what's the kind of structure of the day? I mean, how is it judged, and
So you need to prepare for the day. Like normally, like the first stage is like quite like very similar to those sourcing games when you have like you need to answer like a set of questions in a limit of time, like 60 minutes, 2 hours. I don't remember now. It depends on the edition. And then a few months after, you have like one day where you need to allocate like more time. Normally it's on a Saturday. I remember that in the past, the time schedule was like maybe not the best, because there's a lot of people traditionally from the US doing this competition. But then I think when I did it in 2019, it was a bit different. So you could choose when you were going to do it. And it's more about like solving some specific like challenges related to using different social media platforms, finding like some using like some cues, like some hints that you find in some of the questions, like trying to think and solve, like almost like if it was like in some cases like a puzzle, no, like a bounty hunt kind of a game. But always related to candidates, no? and trying to sourcing people.
And is there a prize? How does that work? Do you get a kind of how does it work? What do you win?
Well, they gave me, I don't have it here because I'm not in my office, but I have in my home office, I have this kind of a squirrel, because like we have all the jokes about like the purple squirrel and like how difficult is to find like the niche passive talent, and is represented by a purple squirrel in many cases. And they gave me like this kind of like trophy of a squirrel that it's super nice. You can put it on the USB and there's like some lights going on. But I think it's more the recognition, and there was like not cash prize or anything like that. And for me, it was like more about you, because you learn a lot about like maybe some places that you don't know so much. It's the same when I was doing like sourcing games. Like you read about these things. Sometimes you can apply them to your job. Sometimes it's not going to work because maybe you're not recruiting, let's say, software developers and you're not using GitHub. But then when you need to do that, it's easier for you to go back to that, to that info, because it's, yes, as you learn by doing things. I think that's the main purpose, like, and having fun at the end of the day, and of course the recognition, from the community. But it was good fun.
Oh, it sounds very good. So
yes.
I remember doing one, actually. It was like a hackathon type thing, and they had given us questions, but a lot of it was geared towards developers, and I wasn't using GitHub, so I struggled a bit in the beginning. But I was like, oh, okay, this is using X-ray searches and actually using GitHub to find people's emails. I thought, okay, if I needed developers, at least now I know a good tool for finding the personal email addresses and phone numbers, which I never knew GitHub was like a good source for that, if you know how to search GitHub.
That's the idea. And I've been on the other side, like in a few cases, like writing some of the questions also for some hackathons and these kind of challenges. And the good thing is that it pushes you to the limit to try to find like new ways of doing things that maybe you don't know, or maybe you think you know, and they have a different answer, which is very important, because I think like in sourcing, in recruitment overall, but particularly in sourcing, I think we need to be always using these two kind of like minds, like the two kinds of part of the brain, like the creativity, the person that is like thinking out of the box and trying to find like a new solution and how to approach the problem differently, and also the more rational, structural, logical type of brain, which is like, okay, so I need to use this approach, and then I need to try this one, and then I need to do this, and checking all the boxes, So I think these games, even if they are kind of artificial and these challenges, one of the hackathons that I did actually in Sourcing Summit, it was super fun because we were actually sourcing CVs, and then they were sent to charity, which was also even better because it was quite more real in that sense. But even those that are more open in that sense, conceptual, and like questions that maybe are not like about like you sourcing somebody, are helping you to push yourself a little bit more.
And so why do you think sourcing is still maybe relevant for companies today?
It is, of course, very, very relevant. Super important, like for all the companies that are still hiring and they didn't have like any kind of hiring freeze, or even their slowdown is not like as big as others. I've discussed in these last months with many startups that are actively growing at the moment. So they are aggressively trying to source, for example, technical roles, like product roles, data science, and for them it's business as usual because they had like the investment already and they just need to go on with that. The difference, of course, in many cases is that some of the recruiters, they might be like even more flooded by applications, in some cases, unfortunately, that are not going to be relevant. So they have to like even have a more defined strategy to source, because they can lose like a lot of time, and the time to hire that person if they have to go like through all the applications. In some cases, it's even better to take down a job advert, have a defined strategy to go out to the persons that are maybe open to new opportunities, so active candidates, but you are reaching out to them yourself. And of course, passive talent, no, that you are not looking to change, but you are going to do that. No, so it's very important for them to be conscious also of like the time of potential candidates, the time of the recruiters, and other companies that maybe are more in a slowdown. They have time to be working in other projects that maybe are not always, let's say, not so related always to filling a position, like not like just building a talent pipeline for a specific role that needs to be closed in just like a month or something like that, but more about like things that are going to have an impact in the long term, like building talent pipelines, for example, and that are going to be nurturing like a talent community, and of people that maybe are not ready to move, maybe some excellent, like just like spot on profiles that are maybe they just started a job, they're not considering to move at all at the moment, but let's say that in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, they are the right people that you want to be speaking with. So these companies that now are thinking also more about like the long term, and they have the capacity to build these talent communities, are investing a lot of time doing this, no? And also link it to events, for example, like some cases, like I've been in some of the projects recently this year. I've worked a lot with everything related to working with recruitment marketing, but also to find like more leads of people that want to attend like a industry event organized by a company, and to keep that person engaged and not thinking again about like the straight away hiring that person, but more about like how, if we contact this person in the future when it's ready, maybe now it's very junior, but maybe in 2 years it's going to be senior, they are going to know already the name of our company, and they're going to be like more open because they will have experience like discussing with people in this department, or are going to be like more conscious of the brand, no? So these are like some very useful right now additional things that companies are doing.
Just a reminder to anyone kind of following us on Crowdcast or on Facebook, if they want to ask a question, just drop it either into the chat box or click on the question, and we will try to ask that to Iker before we're out at kind of 1:45. I know what I wanted to ask, Iker, is yes. You've touched on this a little bit, but what are the kind of the core things that people should be doing to kind of up their sourcing game kind of right now? Can you go into a little bit more detail about that?
Totally. I think a lot of the things that are super important at the moment are very, very linked to research, I would say, like talent intelligence, which some companies are very fortunate of having like departments. I know that Philips is one, Adidas, Nike, I think they have like specific departments that are understanding competitors and the talent, like mapping the executive and C-level of those companies, just to have like all that information in addition to other details as locations of the workforce, but more thinking like even like for agencies that are in some cases like not only working in exec search but in mid-level roles. regardless of the seniority, I think is an approach that a lot of companies from the client perspective are going to take into consideration as something very very different from just like sending them a few CVs, of potential candidates. Like more about like, okay, so this is how the market looks like. So these are like the target companies, and that info, like saving that data, is, I mean, through the process, is going to be super useful for your client, and it's going to be always very interested. No, and some of the projects that I did, for example, in the last 6 months, have been like very linked also to understanding like from one, let's say, like starting in a country, or like trying to understand like machine learning companies in Montreal, startups that could have like a similar structure to the client that I was working with, and how to, maybe something that it was not going to be actioned straight away, but when it was needed, that information was there, and in some cases building that information as you are sourcing and identifying like candidates for active roles. No, so you get the two levels at the end. Like you get the delivery, and you get like the all the advising that you can do of like, so this is like how the market looks like. These are the type of companies from this size in these 3 locations. If you are considering to open a new office like in 2021, this is like where the talent pool of data engineers is more relevant for your hiring needs in the future. No, so and this is something I have the feeling. So having worked in agency, in RPO, in house, in many cases we rush because we have like the urgency of filling jobs, which is the job that we have in recruitment, but we come a lot about across this data, no? And I think it's super important if we can save it and also present it, no?
So it's kind of like a lot of everything that's driven at the minute. It's data driven, basically, right?
Data driven, yes. So many of the tools that I've been using like this year have been tools that are not designed for recruitment at all, not for sourcing, but are more like for sales, and like Crunchbase, for example, is one. Craft.co, and these tools at the end, they give you like these kind of like insights about like the information of like the different companies, the number of employees that they have, if a company is growing more or is like losing employees, and at the end of like this data helps you to present to your client, to your team, like, okay, so we are looking for, let's say, product managers in Barcelona, but maybe we should be looking for this same profile for in our office in Paris, because you're going to have like a bigger talent pool, and the target companies that we're looking for, because they're using, for example, similar products or similar technologies, they are rather based in Paris instead of Barcelona. No, so but if you don't gather that data, that maybe when you're sourcing and you're searching and doing searches again and again, you see that in front of you, and it's just like passing. If you don't put it like in a presentation, in an Excel spreadsheet, or it's going to be like very, very difficult after to actionate and to push back if it's needed. So in some cases.
And I guess it's really good to work with the executive teams, so that you know what the company's long-term plans are, so that you can start building this pool of talent and engaging the talent.
Mm-hmm. Totally, and I think I was thinking actually, like, if you take like agencies that are focused on executive search, and the approach that they use in many cases, I think it needs to be also translated to other roles that are of less seniority, more junior positions, because now if you take an agency that is like dealing with less positions at the same time compared to what they were doing before, there is no excuse for them like to don't have like a better approach to taking this like a project at the end, no, like many exec search firms are doing, no, and mapping out competitors and going after, like having a clear picture of the market of who are the persons that we could be interested in speaking with, or that, and having all that data, no. So I think one thing that we have to take advantage of is like having maybe like more time, because that's that's maybe like one of the good things of having like this new context, that if you have like more time, you can invest it in having like more quality into the sourcing and recruitment process. And that means for me like project management and domain knowledge and preparing like a thorough like sourcing strategy, and ideally at every level.
And I guess at the moment, what's on a lot of people's minds is diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
Have you thought of some things how people can up their game in that area?
Totally. That's a very good point. And I think like from what you mentioned, I think it has been on the radar of like many companies for a lot of time now, but it's becoming more and more important in the sense of that many companies and many teams are seeing that it's so difficult to get it right and just speaking about like the diversity in terms of like the only for sourcing, like only for identification and engagement, no. I was speaking with somebody in a training and they were saying to me like, well, LinkedIn is supposed to give you like 50% results of gender diversity, in any of the searches. Unfortunately, I guess it depends on the specific role, but particularly if you go and do a search into technical positions where men are more common and women are underrepresented, you need to force LinkedIn to be able to give you like the results that you're looking for. And there are only like two things that you can do. First is like using some techniques that are specific to make LinkedIn giving you like, for example, candidates that might have like a female name or that are using a keyword that is maybe indicating you that this person went to a sorority, or that in the recommendation somebody wrote she did this, her work ethic is amazing, things like that, no. And unless you don't do that, for example, when searching on LinkedIn premium, RPS, on Recruiter, or even on Sales Navigator, you need to put that on the keywords. For the thing that I was saying before, you need to put it on the first name. So you need to force LinkedIn to give you the results, and these are like a few tricks. There are a few others. I was playing also last week with the X-ray search, only like to try to see if I could see like images of women for a specific job title on LinkedIn, and it's not 100% accurate, which with everything that is free, and I think it happens very often, but it works. It works fine. And the other thing, which is super important, and I get this always in any of the teams that I've been like working with, and one of the first like learnings that I try to show them is like, it doesn't matter if you know all the techniques about like diversity sourcing and you know how to do this, and even if you have some in the US, like some of the tools for searching talent might have this filter like for diversity in terms of gender, but you can have that. The only thing is that if you don't put like time into your sourcing sprints like every week, so if you don't allocate like quality time to really be able to do this as much as needed, and ideally putting like a target, like let's say like if I want to have like a 100% talent pool of diverse candidates, I don't need to stop until I find this. No, if I want to do 50-50, you need to put like maybe like a lot of more time to find these diverse candidates, that maybe are more common to find, if we can say that, no. And these are the two keys, like tools and techniques, very important always, but more about like the how to execute them. Again, project management type of thinking of like allocate time, set a target, set a goal, and you will see the results only like this. And it's very easy like to search and find like profiles, but you need to uncover more and commit. No, you need to commit to find diverse profiles to be able to make an impact, I would say.
And that's a good point you made by using her and she as keywords, because that really will help. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Totally, yes.
I wasn't even aware you could do that on LinkedIn.
Yes, and some people that I mean, as they are using like, of course, like the gender pronouns, that's super useful. But like the majority of times this is working because like somebody wrote like a recommendation, and in the recommendation, like maybe you are not like you don't have that anywhere else in your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
No? You don't have like your gender pronoun, but somebody wrote about you, and is one of the places where it could happen. Another one is like the groups. You can find like some specific diverse group. They can be like based on gender or other things. And if you're actively looking for that, you can search on LinkedIn like people that are members of some specific groups. That could be like also a hint. Something that I use a lot in the past also is like meetups. So Meetup is an amazing source. Itself for sourcing is not giving you a lot of details about the person. The good thing is that with Meetup, for example, if you go like to Python ladies, for example, or R ladies, no, which is quite popular in data science with this programming language R. So you don't have like all the details of that members as in the professional working experience that they have, or even the education that they have, as you will have it on LinkedIn. But the good thing is that you know that they are members of that, so it's quite possible that the big majority of them are maybe women, no?
Yeah.
And combining that with the scraping meetup.com, which is something that is doable. Then you can cross-reference the names that you obtained from that group on LinkedIn, for example, searching for those names in a particular location, maybe adding a keyword that is relevant, like let's say R or data science. And that again is another way of forcing LinkedIn to show you like the results that you're looking for in terms of diversity. It's also an amazing way of starting to source outside LinkedIn, which I think LinkedIn is an amazing platform, but we need to combine it with others. And I think it's very useful to start the searches outside LinkedIn. And this is one example, no?
Yeah.
So
I think
another good one.
I think recruiters I think it's a lazy recruiter who just sits on LinkedIn, basically, isn't it? You know, that's how I've always kind of felt. It's a great tool, but there's you've given us 3 or 4 already today where you should be looking as well, basically.
And again, that's going back to this. Like, I'm not against LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is super important, and I think it's very important, like, to know how to use it right, which is something working in some cases in trainings with agencies and some in-house teams. The first thing of the training is like, okay, so let's leverage LinkedIn. Let's try to find like better results. Let's optimize your searches so you don't see always like the same profiles. But don't get me wrong, like LinkedIn is one tool. You need to combine it with others, no? And many of my searches, I might start or I might end on LinkedIn. So it might be it's often there, because particularly if you're doing like a talent map and you want to show the information to a hiring partner or somebody else in the team that you're working with, you're not going to send like a list of like, okay, I have like this 1,000 members of this meetup of nurses in Kentucky, but you don't have like more information about like their specialties or where are they based, no? So you need to cross-check. And again, LinkedIn very often, not always, because not everybody has a LinkedIn profile, but in many cases, again, it's a place where you can start, or at least you can end to cross-reference, you know, the information that you find in other places.
Yeah. I wanna ask you, because I know we've got about 10 minutes left, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier on. You mentioned marketing, which obviously kind of I was going to say my area of expertise, but I'm not sure it necessarily is. Yeah, kind of the kind of partnership between sourcing and marketing. I think that's kind of a really kind of interesting area, and probably something that doesn't get covered enough.
Yes, totally. You know, I have something that a few persons like in the sourcing community have been speaking for already some time, like about like everything related to growth hacking, like Jan Tex and Marcel van der Meer in the Netherlands from Badass Recruiters. They are almost like growth marketeers that are also sourcers, and it's something that I always pick my interest. But what I was very surprised in some of the projects that I've been doing in these last 2 years, I had the opportunity of working very close to marketing departments, and that gave me a different view of like the collaboration of recruitment and marketing, in the sense of like working like to, for example, as we were saying before, creating events, generating leads for these events that are and meetups that the companies are doing. At the end, building these communities, also like marketing. In some cases, they can be like very involved because they can help you like to position like maybe a bit better like the type of like EVP that you're presenting to the potential people that are not going to be candidates, that are potential leads, that are prospects, but at some point you need to put them together. Even like also to build like newsletters with the marketing teams, like they are. I don't think that the recruiters and sourcers, well, recruiters, like we are not like always like in recruitment like very good at content writing. I know that there are some training. I think Mitch Sullivan has like one that I check, and I think seems very interesting. But marketeers, they have like more experience in writing content. The difference is that sourcing, for example, we have the information, like very fresh information about the type of people that we want to engage. No, I think it's natural in some cases, and I've been very happy to see that in a few companies that I work with in some projects, that you can add a lot of value from a sourcing perspective to your recruitment marketing or marketing department, because you can feed them insights, you can help them to build the personas, like not like kind of like very generic like type of personas, but more linked to the type of talent that you are reaching out, because you're the expert on the type of profile that you are recruiting. So that data again is very useful. And also the things that are more relevant, like when building like the job sites and these community sites, all these kind of insights that you have fresh from the market are going to be super useful. So I actually decided like this year that in July, that I had a bit more of time. I started like doing like a growth marketing training myself with Growth Tribe, and many of the tools that I use like are also linked to. They might have like a marketing. I mean, they were created for marketing, as we spoke about Craft and Crunchbase. Like I've been playing with landing pages recently, but it's not something that maybe have been designed for recruitment, but it can have an application too, for recruitment, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get leads. In this case, is also candidates after. Also, very important in that sense.
And I guess the marketing department can write content for you that will attract, because they know how to write the content. You've told them what kind of person you're looking for, so they can write that kind of content for you to engage, the candidates you're approaching.
Yes, totally. I think, you need to keep genuine, and everybody has their own style writing and their own voice. So it doesn't have to be like very obvious that it has been like like some kind of like product sale that you're pushing. Even if you can consider that in many cases like a job or a potential opportunity to get to know more a company is kind of a product at the end too. But definitely like for revamping like job advertisement and like the career sites of companies are going to be like very useful. And when building community, always I think is key. Like having like all that help that they can provide when building events, for example. And so the collaboration between sourcing and marketing is super important.
On a couple of the working lunches, we've talked to marketeers and we've talked about account-based marketing, and that's usually kind of client lead generation kind of focused.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely kind of parts of that can be kind of focused on candidate generation. and that's that combination of the marketing department, the sales team / sourcing team working together with a campaign that is right. We need to find and attract this demographic, this audience, and let's kind of generate content that is specific and very, very relevant to that audience. If as I said, if you're targeting clients, it's almost like account-based marketing. But if you're targeting candidates, it's not like account-based marketing. It's, I don't know, sourcing-based marketing or something like that. I mean, there's
totally. And in some cases, like for example, like marketing, for example, these departments, they can build like some infographics, like some like a small image that you can use when you're sending an email to the candidate, and it's going to make a huge difference, no? But definitely, I think collaboration in this area is very important. It wouldn't make sense not to have like these departments working with the same goal separate. So it has been like a very interesting work recently in these last years. Yes, totally.
So are there any specific tools maybe for marketing, that they can use for sourcing?
Yeah, so I discovered a few that are interesting. Like one recently is called Linktree. Linktree is a website that allows you to put like different links. So when you're doing the reach out to somebody, if you're sending a message, instead of like flooding them with many links at the same time, you can just send like click here, and they can see like a link to your Book Me or Calendly site, so they can book some time with you, a link to a document that you have in one place, a link to a video that you have in another place, which I think like using another tool that I use a lot in the past for email campaigns, which again wasn't built for recruitment, and it's called Lemlist. You can see in many cases that people are not clicking in all the links that you have when you're sending a message to a potential candidate, no? So playing with this last tool with Linktree recently, I had this idea, well, maybe it's better to send like only this one, no? And recently I started like playing also like with landing pages, as I was saying. So there are like different landing pages creators, like one is London.co, I think London.co, yeah, LANDEN.co, which again, it depends a lot on how is like your career site and the job ad that you have. But in some cases, I think that you can create like some good content, put it on a landing page, and then trying to see if that person is willing to engage before applying, no? Because what I still see, like in many cases, like particularly, it's true that many agencies are still sending messages like asking people to apply directly or asking for a CV, which I think is a no from a passive candidate perspective. Like for any candidate, to be honest, like I think at first, like let's have like more information about the person. Let's give them like more insights about like what the company is doing and what kind of like what is everything about this position. And in some cases, for those that are thinking it twice, the last thing that they want to see is like a job ad, because they are not thinking about applying to a job. But maybe if you put them in front of them like a document, in this case, if it's like a website, it's easier, where they can see a bit more of information and maybe like explore more and contact you easily after. I think it should work. So I'm going to be testing that tool also now.
Landing pages is a very marketing thing to do.
Yes, everywhere, but you can use them for, and I think, I mean, I don't remember now the names, but some ATSs are definitely giving like landing pages as an option, at least to build like for all what we were saying at the beginning, like to build communities. You don't want to push somebody to, I think, like generic applications. I don't have data to back this, but I don't have a feeling that are working amazingly well. Like people are not like just sending your CV for the sake of it, if they don't have like any role in mind. But going to a landing page that is going to help you to join like a talent community for one company that you identify yourself with, I think is going definitely to work much better. No, so that's one. This is Landed.co. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Well, look at that. Time's just flown by again, and we're at closing time. So I just wanted to say thank you, Iker, for your time today, and you too, James, for co-hosting.
Thank you very much.
Tomorrow we've got Debbie with Glenn Martin. So I guess talk about the CV and the last remaining outpost for paper. And then Stephen has Christina Robinson on very interesting Friday as always. So look forward to seeing you either tomorrow and as well as on Friday.
Yes, so it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. And well, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, let's connect. Happy to answer any questions, to follow up with any of the things that I ask here. So ask me about it, and we can continue discussing. So thank you very much.
And I'm sure with with marketing and sourcing combining, there are a lot of people that are in marketing here, and I think it's a good way to combine ways of doing work.
Ping me to discuss about it. I think it's fascinating, and there's a lot of things.
I will be following on Iker myself, I think.
Totally. Let me know. And share any tools that you have.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
you have anything else. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.